classmates and lecturer. My name is SYAZWAN bin SHAHRULNIZAM, matric number 284217. I will be explaining about the background of IBA Safe Soil Manufacturing Sdn Bhd. IBA Safe Soil Manufacturing Sdn Bhd is a wholesaler that provides fertilizer for several companies and farms. The company has a website but also does on-site business on their warehouse and would prefer cash transactions rather than credit transactions. The website displays the fertilizers prices for each type and amount. Customers who would like to place an order will have to fill in the sales order form available on the website. Next up, we have table of entities and activities. The first entity we have is the customer. The customer first comes into the warehouse, then the customer chooses the fertilizer to be processed by the staffs in the warehouse. Next, the customer pays by transferring via bank-in or by cash receipts. Next entity we have is from the sales department is the sales clerk. The sales clerk will retrieve the customer's orders. Next, prepare cash bill, receive cash from the customer, prints out the cash bill for the customer, prints out a packing slip which will be sent to the warehouse, prints a shipping notice to the shipping department, and sends a cash bill to the billing department. Next entity we have is from the warehouse department. In the warehouse, we have the general workers working. They will pack the goods after the fertilizer has been processed. Next, they will pack the goods and the goods will be sent to the shipping department together with the packing slip. The next department is the shipping department, where the workers will receive the goods with packing slip, reconcile the delivery order and the packing slip, and finally they will ship the goods to the customer together with a shipping notice. The last entity we have is from the billing department, which is the billing clerk. The clerk will receive the cash bill, reconcile the sales order, update the sales journal record, and lastly update the general ledger of the company. Continuing, we now have the context diagram for the company. Here we can see the customer is an entity that will give their order and cash to the sales order process system, which then the process system will give a cash receipt or a cash bill to the customer after they had given their cash. Then the sales order process system will get the goods ready and send the packed goods and packing slip to the courier.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is ZAFIR DANIAL bin AZIM, matrix number 284207. I will now proceed with physical data flow diagram, or also known as DFD. So first things first, we'll start with customer. So when a customer places an order, the customer will tell you the amount or the quantity they request. So when the company will receive the order and they will proceed with the check credit. So the company will make a sales order copy or the copy of sales order for the check credit, and they will proceed with to get approval from the manager or supervisor to get the approved sales order. So once the sales order have been approved, they will proceed with billing the customer. So when it comes to billing the customer, they have to update two things. They have to update account receivable and they have to update the inventory records. So the updated account receivable and the updated inventory records, they will then have to post to the general ledger, and also they have to update the sales journal. So once the process completed, they will have to proceed with paid goods. So before they ship the goods, they have to verify stock release. So verified stock release meaning they have to check whether the stock is available, whether the stock requested by the customer is available or sufficient to the customer. So once the process completed, they will then have to ship the goods. So the company will include the packing slip and the bill of lading, and also sales invoice to the customer. So that is all for the physical data flow diagram for the FT. I will now proceed with flowchart. So the company are divided into 5 departments: sales department, credit, billing department, supplier, and shipping department. So when customer place an order, the company provided with 3 different payment options to the customer. So if the customer buy with a small quantity, they can use cash. If the customer wants to buy with a huge quantity, they can use a debit or credit card or online payment. So the sales department will prepare sales order and credit copy. So for the sales order, they'll have to prepare 4 documents. The sales department have to prepare 4 documents: invoice, customer copy, shipping notice, and stock release. So for the credit copy, will then be transferred to credit section to check credit and to get approval from the manager or supervisor for the approved credit copy. So the invoice, customer copy, shipping notice, and stock release will then be transferred to respective department. So for invoice, we'll go to the billing department to reconcile the customer. So in the reconcile the customer, they will have to prepare 3 other documents. First, they have to update sales journal. The second one is stock release. So stock release, it can be a memo, it can be an email, but it must be authorized by the stock owner with a signature. So the purpose of stock release to communicate with the supplier the request from the stock owner to release a given quantity or a specific items requested by customer. So the stock release will then go through inventory control. So inventory control is an activity checking for the shop stock. And then the third one is invoice. Invoice will be sent back to the customer. So for the stock release, the supplier will receive a stock release document, and they will have to make a file copy. So the supplier will then pick goods, and then they will have to update stock records. For the shipping notice, and they will go to the shipping department. So the shipping notice packing slip, the shipping department will then have to make a copy for the reconciled bill of lading and shipping notice. So the shipping department will then have to prepare a bill of lading and packing slip to the courier. So the company are using Post Laju as their main courier in this business. So that's all for flowchart. Thank you.
Hi, my name is ADRIAN ANGGOI and my metric number is 288569. Before we jump into the content, I would like to explain what is internal control. A firm's internal control system is a set of policies designed to secure its assets, maintain accurate and reliable accounting records, improve efficiency, and assess compliance with established policies. The accounting information system carries confidential information belonging to the company, its staff, and its customers. Therefore, a firm should implement effective internal control to protect its company from any risks such as fraud, errors, and mischief. First and foremost, one of the strengths of the internal control procedures present in our selected company's revenue cycle is the verification procedures. IBSF Soil Manufacturing Sdn Bhd is using Google Sheet to record its daily sales. The company found that using a Google Sheet is the most effective way to maintain the financial records uses less storage space, and it is cost effective. Despite the fact that computer record keeping appears more likely to deliver a relevant report than human, the company is still applying the verification procedure by independently checking its record to identify if there is any errors or mispresentations happening. Besides, the internal control procedures of the IBASF soil manufacturing Sendirian Berhad are enhanced by the supervision. Supervision is a control activity involving oversight of the work of the employees. The company installed closed-circuit television (CCTV) on every corner of its manufacture, and it is monitored by Puan Su, which is the supervisor of the company. Supervisory controls helps to ensure that employees do the tasks they are required to and perform them properly. Last but not least, the internal control procedures of the IBASF soil manufacturing Sendirian Berhad are strengthened by the transaction authorization. Transaction authorization is a method for ensuring that employees process only valid transactions within their scope of authority. IBASF soil manufacturing Sendirian Berhad needs the manager's approval and signature before payments are processed. Obtaining a signature before making a payment demonstrates that the payment is approved. And this can decrease the fraud by the lower level management such as clerk, because they must obtain the authorization before processing payments. In this manner, suspected fraud can be identified.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. As we know, soil manufacturing Sendirian Berhad. The first one, error in entering inventory data. Employees may enter information or data improperly. IBA Soft Soil Manufacturing Sendirian Berhad, which use Google Sheet application to fill in data information, may occur probability to fill in incorrect data, which can cause inaccuracy in the company's financial statement. Furthermore, errors in financial statement may result in feeble judgment and complicated tax situation. Next, the security of inventory data is vulnerable. IBA allows everyone to view the data contained in the Google Sheet lively. The procedure used by IBA, which gives all its employees access to Google Sheet to observe inventory flow, can be a weak spot in a company's internal control. This can cause outsiders to also be able to find out the company's inventory data if they are insiders giving access to it. Last but not least, IBA Soil Manufacturing Sendirian Berhad failed to segregate the duties of receiving cash or check and recording the transaction. Based on the interview session conducted, the manager informed that the financial transaction was done by only one person, who was referred by the manager by the nickname Madam. Both check, receipt, and transaction recording tasks are done by the same person, which is the cash receipt clerk. In this situation, the cash receipt clerk could remove cash from the company and manipulate the record by adjusting the cash account to cover the error.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is AZMI and my mention number is 284225. And now I will continue about the risk exposure that might have resulted from each of the internal control witnesses as stated before. There are some risks that we have found when IBASF soil manufacturing Sendirian Berhad takes the internal control easily. First and foremost, the risk that the company has prevailed in accurate record keeping. Since the work has been done by the only one worker and the process of keying information to the system is manually, the record that has been kept by the company is very susceptible to the fraud and inaccurate record. So, if only one worker has been responsible for doing the work to key in the record, the percentage of inaccurate record keeping is high. Second, the risk that may happen in IBA safe soil manufacturing system MUHD is unauthorized access to data. Since the company let everyone view in the Google Sheet that give information about the company flows, it may have led some unauthorized alteration in the company. Everyone can easily steal some inventory and alter the information. So, the company decision is to let everybody access the inventory flow information is not very smart and acceptable. Next, IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD is also exposed to the risk of shipping the wrong item or quantity. This risk may happen since the manager of the company didn't even mention the supervisor who will oversee the shipping information and shipping condition. The manager also mentions same mistakes that they have made when they had accidentally sent the incorrect quantity of the product to the customer. Finally, the IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD is exposed to making a risk on sales to uncredited customers. When they interviewed the manager of the IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD, he did mention that sometimes the company must bear some bad debts every year. This statement is proof that the company didn't check their customers' background before they have to bear the bad debt every year.
Suggest appropriate internal control procedure associated with each of the weakness identified. So, every problem must have a solution to solve it. This statement can also be implemented in the context of the risk that IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD has to bear. So, we have a list of suggestions that for IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD in order to overcome the risk that they have been bearing. First and foremost, the first suggestion is IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD has to implement the concept of segregation of duty in every department they have. Based on our observation, most of the department they have are only filled by a small number of workers. If they implemented this concept, many problems could be solved, such as incorrect record keeping, shipping of wrong item, and unauthorized access to data. The worker can also take a breath if they have many colleagues in each of the department. At the same time, IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD can increase the quality of its workers' work. So, next, for the second suggestion is IBA safe soil manufacturing MUHD should authorize each transaction that happened in their company. This is very important so that every transaction that happens actually happens and not just on paper. The way to implement this is by hiring a worker who specializes in authorizing every transaction that happens in the company. Even though it will cost more to the company, it is really important to reduce the risk of it happening. And the last but not least, the company also has to minimize access control to the company's information to only higher level workers and management only. This action can prevent unauthorized changes of information from happening in the company. The company can set a password on the official computer that stores all the information about the company, and the password can only be shared among the authorized people in the company only.